All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I have
Hello.
an incredible guest on this episode today. They're known as KrashKarma. They've been around for a while. They are an amazing duo, believe it or not. It's just two. And I am very impressed with what I've heard and very excited to get to know them and talk about what they do. Everybody, KrashKarma, how are we doing?
Hello.
Doing great. Waking up. Coming
Waking
back from Knott's Berry Farm. Knott's Berry Scary Farm. Halloween experience deluxe yesterday.
Yeah, man. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm kind of not super awake. I haven't woken up since I got up today at 4. I've had a bunch of coffee.
It's not
But
working.
huh?
It's
Yeah,
not working. Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't seem to be working today, but that doesn't matter. I'm here. I'm excited. Let's just dive right in, and we could kind of just in brief summarize the origin that is KrashKarma.
Yes. That would be Nikki and I. I came from Germany many years ago. Nikki came from New Jersey, and we met in Los Angeles.
At the NAM show.
Wow.
Yeah.
And started working together on different projects, and eventually in 2008 started KrashKarma.
Well,
And ever since we've been traveling and touring the world.
yeah, it seems like you guys have been doing that pretty tirelessly. Just a lot of shows, a lot of making music, a lot of just getting your name out there, building it up and everything. And yeah, just you guys do a lot. You know, a lot of work.
Yes, I mean the whole
That's
thing.
how it goes.
Yes, the whole thing started in 2008, and the goal was always that we're gonna go on the road.
Mhm.
Playing shows. So we released our first EP in 2008, and then we started putting a band together. And back then we were 4 people.
Oh yeah.
So in my head, it was always 4 people. So when I write music, it's always like 2 guitars, me singing, Nikki singing, and then we're gonna be traveling. And then eventually we would travel so much back and forth between Europe and United States that we shrank it down to 3 people. And that's when we released our third album or third CD. Is when we lost the bass player right before the tour.
Right.
And I built, this was in 2015, and then I built this instrument that can play bass and guitar at the same time. And ever since at this time we had a big tour, we had a song on the radio, and we traveled the country, and that's kind of like when we got to the next level, and everybody always knew us as a 2-piece. So when I tell people we were 4 people, like, really?
What? No way.
But this is when I also produce and mix all our material. I have always 4 people in my head. It's when I try to play my bass and guitar instrument, I always try to make it sound like 3 people.
And so he basically had to start and relearn how to play an instrument that it could sound so full and like a full band for 2 people. That was a big goal always at the beginning.
Yeah, I can't say I've seen that kind of guitar bass combination before, and if I have, I didn't recognize it.
Yeah.
It honestly wasn't until I started checking you guys out that I became familiar with such an instrument. And it really does work. The sound is really nice and balanced. You can distinguish the 2 parts when you're playing live, especially. It really comes through, and yeah, it's an awesome instrument. It's something I'd love to see up close if I ever see you guys live.
Yes, we want to come and play for you, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few bands who do this, of course. There's Local Age comes to mind.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But they're doing this differently. Everyone that I've seen so far is doing it in a different way, where you can pull it off just having a guitar going through an octave pedal or certain strings. It's always a muddy chord. But if you play metal, you need a root note. So I built this guitar that has only the root note. So that's why we are able to pull off the metal stuff that we do. And usually it's more like an alternative indie band kind of a thing. But we felt I need to bring this idea into the metal world. And in the metal world, I haven't seen anybody pull it off yet.
Usually you're the first.
Yes. So.
Yeah. Was it before I have a question for Nikki as well. When you were putting it together, was it something that was really complicated to figure out how to do for the guitar bass combo?
Like, what was it complicated to put it together?
Yeah, like because I imagine you had to take stuff out, put stuff in, configure it. Like there's like probably wiring involved in that.
Oh, all of that, yeah. But that's definitely
like what was that like, Ralph?
Well, it's a process that never ends, honestly.
Yeah.
Because there's different versions of it. And the first time we started doing this, like I said, that was the first tour and I had to put something together. So I just taped a piece of metal over a humbucker and tried to isolate 5 strings from another string. And then I had different pickups and I bought pickups, soldered, cabled, and my dad is an electrician. And when we were on tour, we came to Germany. So I brainstormed with him and he took circuit boards and we soldered and put a bunch of batteries.
Literally.
Yeah, Frankenstein. Well, that's what it's called, right? Frankenstein. So
exactly. And then I had different amplifiers, different pedals. And now the newest version, I don't know on what version I am right now, but the newest version is definitely like 2 years old. And I just made another version they call the Thing that has another MIDI pickup, so I can also play acoustic guitar or synth or anything. So it always develops. So you always see me with my. Wait a second. Soldering iron, very important in my life.
Definitely. Yes. Leatherman and a soldering gun come everywhere. But as a whole, I can say what was the interesting part for us was when it became a duo, our whole dynamic changed and shifted, and I started to become more of a singer. And in the past, I had just been doing like whoa or whatever in the background, and suddenly we shifted that to the songs that I was singing more, and we started writing in that direction that we would both be able to sing lead. And so that in that way, that was how our dynamic was shifting and our writing process was shifting. So that was a pretty big thing. And we've always written the songs, but yeah.
And there was always a do or die situation because it started in doing a tour. And then we said, okay, Nikki, it's just the two of us now. And I'm not standing in front alone and having a drummer in the back.
Yeah.
You're going to put the drums to the front and you're going to be singing half the songs.
So that came on just all of a sudden and we had to just go for it. You know, so.
Well, you guys pulled it off. You know, I'm sure I'm not the first to say that you did. And I know there's a lot of behind the scenes work into making this work.
Yeah.
But to the outside eye, that's like just getting into like your band, like I am recently enough, it looks like it was seamless. But it took a lot of time to do. My buddy Chris has a question. He goes, do you buy your guitars off the shelf and mod them, or do you completely custom build your guitars?
No, I buy them off the shelf. I'm actually endorsed by ESP, and they give me guitars. They're badass. I love my ESP people. They're the best guitars.
They're great guitars. Yeah, they're very great guitars. So, you touched on my question that I had for you, Nikki. I was going to ask you. You answered it kind of in a sense. You didn't always sing when you played drums. It's more of like a kind of like a background thing with like your kind of stuff you're talking about. How long have you been doing the drum thing? Was it a young age, or was it kind of your teens or
teens, more late teens? I started very late. As for most musicians, they start a lot younger, and I started after high school. So
yeah, and then
much later.
Was it a hard instrument to learn? Because I've heard from other musicians I've talked to that are drummers that it's either really hard or it just kind of clicks. And what was it for you?
A combination of both. So I tried to play other instruments first. I was like, what am I going to play? What is the instrument that speaks to me? And it wound up being the drums. And I started on percussion. So it was more hand drums. And when I got behind the kit, it was disastrous. You know, I will never forget playing in my basement and my parents just being like, "Oh my God, please stop!" You know, and it's not lovely, but it's a loud, obnoxious instrument, and it sounds terrible at the beginning, but you just have to keep going with it, and eventually it clicks. And once it clicks, then it starts getting fun, and then you can start building and seeing the potential for. But it was always fun. It always feels good. And number one is if it feels good, you got to pursue it, you know? So that was,
you've got to stay the course and just do it. And if I could say with you as well, Ralph, both of you sound so accomplished with your playing, and with you, Nikki, when I'm listening to you, and it's a lot more, it's always been prominent, even in the early stuff. But I'm listening to the new album, and every time Voodoo Devil Drums comes on, like I get lost in that rhythm you have, and that, you know, like you're in, like, I don't know if I want to call it like a pocket that you're in or whatever, but and just there's this primal driving power behind the way you do the drumming in that song. And the entire record, by the way, and even the early stuff, you just, I have a lot of respect for musicians that you could hear it on the record and you could see it live, how invested and how much they love the instrument they play. You know who John Bonham is, obviously, right?
Absolutely.
You've got a lot of that power behind you as well when you're drumming. Like,
he's one of my favorites.
Where's your tattoo?
Yeah, I was like, I have a tattoo. You can't really see it here, but it's the Trinity on there, and that was Bonham's symbol, actually.
So there's a reason why I draw that connection then. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. But funny enough, I got that tattoo before I even really knew about that I was going to be drumming and doing all of that. So it just kind of, my life always comes into its own, just like KrashKarma did. You know, like when we became a duo, it was just like that was the natural thing we were always supposed to be. It was always meant to be yin and yang. It was always meant to be female and male and this thing, and that's the KrashKarma, and it just fell upon us. You know, and
then this is a question for both of you. As far as the vocals and like the singing in the band, 2-part question, Ralph, or you could start. When were you always singing for you, Ralph, for music, or playing guitar, or did it come hand in hand or separate?
Separate. I was always a guitar player first. That was my first love. Actually, I want to be a drummer. But my parents wouldn't buy me a drum kit. We lived in an apartment with neighbors, so there was no way to play the drums. So instead, I got a guitar. No, I got a flute.
His parents are like, "You want to play drums? Yeah, you get a flute."
So and then of course I developed. I got a guitar eventually, a classic guitar, and I got an electric guitar. I played jazz guitar, and I got all the education. But I always wanted to play metal. That was my thing. Always metal. I grew up with Kiss and ABBA, basically. Kiss, ABBA, and AC/DC. And then from there, Motorhead, Iron Maiden, Metallica, and then my world exploded. But I always saw myself as a guitar player, and I always wrote songs. And I always wanted to put a band together, and I had different people when I was a teenager. And then at some point, I joined a punk band playing bass. And that band got pretty big. But at one point, the singer had a girlfriend. So he didn't show up anymore for rehearsal.
Oh, man.
Sitting in the rehearsal room, waiting for the dude singer, didn't show up. And I said, fuck it. Where's my guitar? Let's play some metal. Yeah. And then I sang. And I felt, okay,
I can do this.
How can I sing? And so the two people really inspired me to sing. There was Max Cavalera from Sepultura. I felt, if this guy can sing, I can sing. And then I started singing my first songs with Megadeth. And
oh, wow.
And so that's how I started.
Before we get to Nikki's part of this question, I've kind of heard in like the newer stuff off of Falling to Pieces. I don't know if it's when both you and Nikki are singing at the same time, and you kind of go do this like not scream, but it's like a grittier kind of. I don't know how to describe it, but it's a kind of vocal that you do, and it's when Nikki comes in with you that you kind of will remind me a little bit of Anders Fridden from In Flames.
Yes,
awesome.
Have you heard that before?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Love In Flames. I think this guy's insane. I think if I could pull off 20% of what he can pull off, I'm glad.
I'm sure he would tell you it's not as much into it as what it appears to be, but who knows?
Yeah. And we love In Flames. We listen to In Flames a lot.
Yeah, same. Yeah. And then what about you, Nikki? When did you start singing?
I mean, I've always been writing, and when we write, I'll sing parts in the studio. That was kind of more how my singing was more in the studio. And then for live, it was always just, backgrounds. In any band I've ever played in, it was always just backgrounds. And then when it kind of started coming more is the first time when we did a tour in Europe, and then he got stuck in Europe because of visa stuff. And our band at the time had to keep going to get home from our tour. We landed in Chicago and had to make it back to LA, and we had a bunch of shows booked, but he wasn't there. So we had to just kind of like do something, anything. So we all started singing and made the way back. And that was kind of the first time that I ever was like playing and singing in a way that I was like, okay, maybe I can do this, you know. Let's start seeing how we can do this and how we can develop it. And it was another sink or swim kind of situation.
Well, both of you have incredible voices. You may not think that of yourselves, and most people I talk to will kind of like, yeah, you know, I'm okay, you know, kind of be humble and all that. But who have you heard yourself, for either one of you, be compared to? Because I know comparisons happen, and sometimes people don't mean that you sound like them. Sometimes they do mean that you sound like them. What are some of the comparisons you've heard? I'm sure Nikki knows one that I'm probably thinking right now.
What are you thinking?
Well, when I hear you sing, you don't sound like her, but there's a tone and kind of like the sound in your voice that reminds me of Maria Brink.
Awesome. Yeah. That's all right.
Yeah. But no disrespect to Maria, I love her, but I have to say I prefer you.
Well, thank you.
I honestly do.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
Yeah, great voice, both of you, and your voices go really well together. Let's go on to. Do you guys want to talk about some of your other influences? That is kind of a note I have here. It's kind of a typical question. I try not to do super typical all the time, but sometimes they're not an avoidable thing. If you want to touch on a few of those, we could go into that.
Influences, you mean?
Yeah. Influences.
Growing up, of course, an influence is always Metallica. I think, like the way that he's played the guitar and the downstrokes. And I really like the Mass of Puppets, the Lightning era, the way he sang.
Yeah.
So I definitely feel like his vocal qualities were really awesome and sick. So I'm trying to capture some of that. Then also from the instrumentation and from the sheer brutality, I really like Slayer too. And the way Dave Lombardo played the drums somehow in a stiff way, and also just like the dryness, it's always been an influence. And then of course anything these days that I listen to, where I listen to a whole band and the bass and the lead guitar kind of like work together in a way, and I feel like I can play this with my instrument. This can be Architects, Bad Omens, can be In Flames, or anything that I listen to, and it goes through my filter in my brain, and I feel like that's an awesome riff, and I can do this on my instrument.
He like reverse engineers it and figures out how to do it as a one.
If I listen to music, I'm constantly reverse engineering the music that's being written, and that inspires me. So I'm getting inspiration out of a lot of things.
But also, as a whole, we're both very well-rounded in our musical genre and taste. So we go from everything from Elvis. We love old classic music, old country, hip hop, electronic, so we do listen to a lot of things. It's not that we are always listening to metal and that's it, so we do have a very, very well-rounded. We like songwriting. We're big into songs, and so that's something that I think in the metal genre is super important, is that you still want a chorus. You still want something you can sing to and belt out, whether it's a scream or, so and really like that.
And to touch on what you just said there, Nikki, you run in, it's most notable in like your metal communities and like your death metal or extreme metal. There's people that don't like when a band that's not known to do like that melodic kind of singing to implement melodic, and then people want to throw around that term sell out and stuff like that. And it's like, well, you got to consider the fact, like you just pointed out, that you could be in a heavy band like that. You guys are heavier yourselves, but that doesn't mean that you don't listen to other things.
Exactly.
I think is a very crucial thing for a band to do, to not just be confined into one kind of style that they listen to, not necessarily make, because it helps your sound kind of develop. you know?
Yeah,
you
you
know
can draw influence from anything, and it's really important to diversify your sound and what we can do. And you just never know where you're going to draw inspiration, like he said. And sometimes it comes from the most unlikely places, like Korean K-pop or something, whoa, that's an amazing line, and you got to be open to that, and you can see how you can pull that into your own style and have fun with it. Don't close your mind off to things like that.
Yeah. And I also see that we are playing 3 or 4 minute songs that have a verse and a chorus. So you can be as heavy as you want or as soft as you want, and at the end it's all pop music. Of course, we're playing the metal branch of popular music, but still every song has a verse, and that already makes it a pop song. And then you have a chorus or a bridge or however you want to twist it. But we're all in that same format. So we can take an ABBA song and make it a black metal song. It's still
why don't you?
Exactly. But that shows you that everything, if you think you're a black metal band, you're a black metal band, but you're still a pop band. In a sense.
I mean, there's definitely some exceptions to that when you get into the the heavier realms. They don't always follow those kind of things. But
and then we get inspired by a lot of bands, like we said, like Massive Attack, for example, or Depeche Mode, and we just hear an arrangement or chord progression, and you put some guitars on it, and then it's like, okay, that could be a cool riff. So you get the idea for rhythm, and then all of a sudden it turns into something completely different. But it might have started with Dancing Queen from ABBA.
That's one of my favorite songs, and not a lot of people know that because most people look at me and they think it's just metal all the time. Right? It is the primary genre I listen to. I like the heavy and hard stuff, but I throw on some ABBA here and there. I listen to a little bit of Adele. I listen to some Justin Bieber because he has some good songs. Some great production on it. Some great production. So I mean, I bounce around myself, and that's a perfect segue into the next part of the interview. Is I wanted to touch a bit on how KrashKarma approaches a song or an EP or an album, because I know it doesn't always start out like it's gonna be an album or an EP. So let's touch on some of that stuff.
That's an interesting question, because when we were about to write Falling to Pieces before the pandemic, we had all these songs, and we thought, okay, this is going to be the album, Falling to Pieces. Then pandemic hit, and for us it was clear we need to be touring to sell an album, and this is how we promote it. That's how we make money. This is what we do. So we knew we're not going to release that album right now. So instead we started releasing singles, and then we did like Girl with a Hammer. We did This Is the Way, a bunch of singles. And all of a sudden, the pandemic was about almost over, and we had a tour coming up. So we just took all these songs and released them as the Storm CD, which is kind of an album, but it's not.
But it's an album based on singles.
It's a collection.
Kind of like a compilation.
Yes, it's also a collection of singles. And I love this album because everything is a hit in my eyes on it. And after this, we were, okay, now we need to write that Falling to Pieces album, and half the songs are already on singles on the Storm. So we continued writing, and we're always writing. But then it was interesting going from, okay, there was the singles collections, and now we do an album, like you said. And then we knew, okay, we need an opener. What's the opener? What is the hit? What is the
take you on a ride, a journey?
What's the ballad? And then we wrote this album, and then it came together beautifully. But like you said, it's definitely a different approach where I feel like I have more freedom, because I can explore different things where I feel, okay, now we're going to write another song where we have a video and push it as a single to the radio to promote the tour. That's a different approach. And then it's also interesting when we wrote Falling to Pieces, we are aware that we're in the pop formula, people like the chorus and the verses, and don't bore us, get to the chorus. But then for Falling to Pieces, we said, you know what, fuck that formula. The song needs to work. So we're always arranging, rearranging, rewriting the songs. And that's always interesting to come to the conclusion. If people want to listen to the radio, they have Creed, they have the Nickelback, they have all these bands. That's not us. So and then we said, okay, we're gonna write on the riff right now, and we're just gonna do a solo, and the song is now 5 minutes. Fuck it. Who cares? And the interesting part is that those songs are always our most popular songs. when we say fuck the radio formula, fuck everything else, we are KrashKarma. We're gonna find the song and we just play the riff another bar, another 2 bars.
Yeah.
And who cares?
Go into a breakdown. Why not?
If the chorus doesn't kick in after 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah. No, well, so you say that, and I noticed that with Falling to Pieces, a lot of those songs, me personally, my sweet spot for a song when it really hooks me in is a song that kind of likes to build up to something big, like really big. And there's quite a bit of songs on Falling to Pieces that do that.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so fond of that record, especially because, I mean, KrashKarma, I've always known who you guys were, but really deeply listening, I started doing that this year.
Awesome.
Cool.
Very cool.
So I don't know if you would say I'm a new fan or I'm a fan that's been here, but just now being really invested in finding that I like pretty much everything I've heard so far. Love, you know.
Awesome. Yeah.
So that's some really interesting stuff with how you guys approach writing. And it brings me to, I'm going to skip a little bit ahead on my notes here, and I wanted to ask about tap dancing through minefields. One of my absolute favorite riffs on the entire album on that song, and I'm not talking about one certain riff in it, the entire guitar arrangement in that song and the drums is, I want to say, maybe my first or second favorite as far as the guitar and drum arrangements go.
Awesome.
It's
a good one.
I think that song is put together in such an awesome way that really catches your ear and keeps you listening to it. Can we break that one down a little bit since we're talking about the way songs are put together with you guys?
Yes, of course. I mean, first we had the title, Tap Dancing Through Minefields. I remember when we thought about tap dancing and the minefields, and I had the title, and I thought, you need to write a song that's called Tap Dancing Through Minefields. And then Nikki said,
I used to tap dance.
I learned how to tap dance. Like, no, yes. And then the idea was born. And then I thought, I saw it in my head. We're gonna play that song live, and halfway through the song, you jump over the drums, and then you bust into a tap dance solo. It's gonna blow minds. People at a metal show, and all of a sudden there's a tap dance solo. So
they're like, what's going on?
That's how it all started.
That's how our brains work. We're like, whoa, what can we do? And we always think about the show and performance, and like we love that element of writing too, and we try to bring that into our songs, you know.
Yeah.
So that's how it started. So the first version of that song was completely different.
Yes.
Than what you know. There was a different riff, a different everything. It was a little more dancey because we felt like it needs to be dancey for some reason. But listening back to the song, I felt a disconnect because tap dancing is such a old art form, and to mix this with metal, I somehow felt this needs to have a level of brutality that balances the tap dancing out.
Yeah.
So we started deleting that old song, and I felt like, how is this gonna work? And like I said, we like to listen to In Flames. We love Soilwork.
Oh, Soilwork, yes.
And so that was the goal. This needs to have like this melodic death metal feel to it. It needs to rip a head off. And so when the breakdown comes, it needs to resolve in a way, but we cannot let the listener off the hook. So there's always the tension in this whole song. So, and there's like those different parts in that song. And then first of all, what is the song about? Tap dancing through minefields. So we started writing the lyrics, and then we realized the song is about PTSD. You know, and if you listen to the lyrics a little more, it's definitely it's a very tense song.
Yeah.
And like I said, and so there was all these layers, and like I said, the song builds up, and then the tap dancing solo comes, and it builds more up in the release, and then the end chorus comes. So this is a very, very tense song. I feel one of the most intense songs that we've written. I think there's this whole bridge section too, when I do probably my most brutal vocals.
Yeah.
Like vocally wise and also like lyric wise. I think it's very intense.
Yeah.
I pulled up beside a car when I was listening to that song, and it was at that bridge point you're talking about where you do those like brutal vocals. Yeah. And there was this older gentleman in this car, and I look over, he's kind of like side-eyeing me, kind of looking a little bit a little bit scared, and so I just kind of look at him and I just smile, and I'm just all right.
He's like, "Oh my God, don't kill me."
Yeah. Hey, little does he know, metalheads are some of the nicest people on the planet.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Traveling through the world, and meeting all these metalheads, and I firmly believe that since as metalheads we have an outlet to let our aggression and frustration and depression flow, that makes us very balanced. So we're happy people.
Yeah, for example, you got Corpse Grinder, and he goes and he collects teddy bears and he donates them to kids at hospitals and stuff. Like, how can you not love that?
Totally. No. Corpse Grinder, yes.
So just another example of don't judge a book by its cover.
Definitely.
But so yeah, I want to go and maybe not, I don't know if it's like a super serious shift, but I just wanted to ask you guys, what are some of the challenges that you've faced being a duo, coming up in the industry, reaching the level of success that you've had and that you have, I should say, currently? Like, what kinds of stuff have you like encountered, overcome, kind of circumvented? Because you know how the bands will say, well, there's this in the industry, maybe a certain kind of image that they like you to have, or certain kind of sound. What was KrashKarma's own challenges that you faced? You don't have to go. You don't have to go super deep, by the way. You can just kind of summarize and just pick some little instances.
But I think every band feels the same, and there's no right answer or wrong answer to this question, because every band feels like, how can we get to the next level?
Always.
Why are people holding us back? Every band feels like they've been held back. But looking at what Nikki and I are doing, we are super lucky. And of course, we also feel like, of course, we get to the occasional manager who says, yeah, I really like you, but you're a couple. I can work with you. It's too risky. It's like, what do you mean too risky? Bands break up all the time, and we've been doing this for a long time. And there's more than just music that connects us. Yeah. It's a safe bet too, because we're going to be the racehorse that fucking is going to be first.
Yeah.
But some people don't see it. But at this point, we're like, well, I'm not hiding that we are a couple. We're having fun, and we are trying to inspire people. And then also people come, you're not metal. Like, what do you mean you're not metal?
Yeah, you're to this, you're to that, or you're not enough this, and you're not enough that, and you try to change it. And we've always just done our thing, and we're like, whatever, we're gonna be who we are. And
as you should.
Yeah.
And we call it metal. If you don't like it, go listen to Twisted Sister. That's your kind of metal. And this is
Yeah.
I mean,
we have been very lucky because we overcome anything that comes. We're able to do most everything ourselves. Like, he's an amazing producer, and we do all the editing, we do artwork, we do everything ourselves. So in that respect, we're very lucky that we just go, whatever, if someone doesn't want to work with us, or we don't find the right combination of of a crew, we do it ourselves. Or like we just push ahead until we do find the right people. We push ahead until we build the right team, and we never settle, we never compromise. And that's been we're very lucky to be able to say that, I think.
I applaud, like I've said earlier on in this, I applaud your guys' dedication and your drive. It's like your nose is always to that grindstone. You don't care how bloody your knuckles get, get to where you go. You're going to punch through walls, and you're going to reach that goal, whether people want you to or not. And that's something you really have to admire and respect.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely a good thing. And then, man, I kind of blinked this next little thing here. Oh, you touched on it. It was just talking about the building the band image. This might go back a little bit. There wasn't any like preconceived idea for KrashKarma as far as like the sound you guys are going to have, right? You just kind of let it come out of you, and how it ends up sounding. That's just KrashKarma. Am I correct?
Yeah, more or less. I mean, it wasn't like Kiss, where it felt like, okay, we could put on makeup and then we get our high heels and walk on stage.
It's not a concept band.
Right.
It was always, I always have an idea, or we have always an idea in our head how it's going to look and sound. But honestly, it became something different.
It morphs.
And this is also when I tell you we start a song. the song might start on an acoustic guitar and ends up as tap dancing through minefields, and it's gonna get brutal. Vice versa, I might start a riff that's like, oh man, that's gonna be some thrash metal right there, and then it ends up to be the ballad, the slow song of the album. So we always have an idea, try to do it, but since I'm producing everything as well, we always have the luxury to let it find its own form. And it's the same with videos and pictures. I have always an idea, and we start, and then we look at it. It's like, okay, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks, this is good. Yeah. And sometimes stuff that I didn't expect to be good turns out to be good, and stuff that I'm in love with sucks. Then we just kill it. So we always like try to produce as much as we can and go with the best version of whatever comes out. And then that inspires us to keep that thing and keep it going. And that's what KrashKarma also basically is.
Yeah.
So I would imagine with that, there's probably a lot of songs in the vault that might get reapproached later on.
Yeah,
might
absolutely.
Not. Yeah.
Many Falling to Pieces. That's 12 songs on that album. We probably wrote around 50 songs, and that's a fraction of the songs that we felt like this is the best.
And then you always think about, at some point we'll go and touch back to those ideas, but we always have new ideas. So it's like there's no shortage of ideas and things to work on. So we always think, at some point we'll go back to those, but it's not always the case because we're just like, we're on to the next thing already. We're like, okay, what else do we got going on?
Yeah, may as well go on to the new thing and keep things moving forward. Exactly. But I do hope at some point there will be a song that's maybe in the vault that gets that love and care that it might not, think or we think it might get. Because like I'm excited for what's going to be next after Falling to Pieces, because I'm like you just said, I know there's something in the works. It's going to probably most likely be even bigger, even better than Falling to Pieces, even if it's just a song to start with. So I'm very excited. I want to go on and talk about now a band whose singer I had on my podcast recently enough, Silver Tongue. You guys recently did with them. I talked to Speed, I think, it's probably been about 2.5-3 months ago when I had my interview with that guy. He is a funny dude, and I imagine that there's probably a lot of joking going on when you guys are out on the road with them playing shows.
We had a good time.
Yeah, that was a great tour for you guys.
Yeah, it was cool. Good. Speed is awesome. The whole band was awesome.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were your openers, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I wish I could have seen that that lineup of you and Silver Tongue, because that's such a perfect pairing, I've seen some videos of the shows that were played, and just looked like so much fun, and like the people were loving it, and that's why I said earlier, like I hope I get to see a show of my own with you guys, whoever you're out with, even if you're an opener, if you're a co-headliner, I don't care. I just want to see. I'm in Oregon. I'm just right next to you guys.
Awesome.
Oregon, okay, we gotta come.
Yeah, definitely.
We will be touring with a band, Nikki and I. Nikki's playing drums, I play guitar for a band, and we will be in Oregon, right?
I believe so. I'm not 100%.
We gotta check it out later. We might see you sooner than later.
I hope. So let's talk a little bit more about some of the songs. I keep treading back to this because I just really want to talk about some of these songs off of Falling to Pieces.
Cool.
I didn't write it down, but I wanted to touch on How God Lost Her Virginity. That is it sounds like a really tender song with how it starts, and then like it has those builds in it and stuff. Was that a song title that you guys were kind of like tap dancing with Minefields? Like, should we go with that title? Because I imagine it's not at all about what the song would reference that it is. I'm almost positive about that. So I want to ask what the concept of the song actually is.
And the song was kind of referencing abuse,
Okay,
just like that was.
I had an inkling of that. Yeah.
It was touching on just how females are, mistreated very often and misrepresented, and the things that they have to go through, and constantly battle, and it's a struggle of the female.
Yeah, it's I want to say top 5 song from Falling to Pieces for me. I go back to that one a lot. And I also go back to Monsters Exit the Hopeless. That's another one that I play a lot. And obviously Voodoo Devil Drums. I play that one a lot. The title track is one I love listening to. There's not a skippable song on the record. You know, like I feel like that's something that's become a little more rare with bands, especially if they're on major labels. It's kind of like they have to compromise or sacrifice that cohesion of a record when they're being rushed to get it done and get it out.
Totally.
The fortunate thing with you two is you have that blessing or whatever, or that the words, I'm failing to get the word in my head to use, but that maybe resource that you guys could just do it how you want to do it. Because it's a really strong record. It's my favorite of your guys' catalog. I do love a lot of the old stuff too, like Way In, Way Out from Morph is something that I really love listening to. Still Bleeding is great. I love that song as well. So what's the next? Let's go ahead and touch on a little bit of Monsters Exit the Hopeless.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a really good one. One of my favorite tracks on the album. And if you spell out Monsters Exit the Hopeless, it is meth.
Oh, I don't know how I didn't see that.
So, and if you listen to the first words I say in the song, it's called "Can revealing your secrets to anyone help monsters exit the hopeless?" If you take the first letter of every word, it spells out crystal meth.
Yeah.
So it's a song about addiction, crystal meth.
Okay.
And
we had a friend that was like shared his whole
story
experience with this, and it was just so moving and just
So we wrote the song "The One Who Knocks" a few years ago. It's a song about Breaking Bad and Walter White, if you're familiar with that. Breaking Bad. We love Breaking Bad. So we wrote the song Breaking Bad. And we loved it serious. So we kind of like also played Albuquerque a lot. So we were hanging out in that scene more or less. And then when a good friend of ours told us a story, he had a Walter White story for us. He was that dude, but it was a very dark story.
Yeah.
And it was with addiction, and it was a crazy story. And I remember this. We were on tour and we heard the story. And on the way to the next venue, man, we knew we got to write a song that shows the flip side of The One Who Knocks. And that became Monsters Exit Hopeless. It was a very dark song. And I was super stoked about the song. I think it's like I said, it's not always, hey, it's
Sunshine
cool, Walter White. There's a very dark side to it. And I felt like with this song, that riff, we captured that dark side. And as an artist, when something speaks to you, then it's like, that's very precious. So that's one of my favorite songs.
So then it sounds like you guys write from both personal experience and then outside your life kind of influences, like stories from other people, like you were just talking about with Monsters Exit the Hopeless. That's great, and I love when bands don't just focus on the internal and they like to kind of look outside of themselves to get, because you could get like other perspectives when you do that, and kind of maybe where your writing might have sounded a little bit one-sided. It becomes multi-sided, you know, and it becomes more worldly. And I think it lends a strength to songwriting and writing your lyrics and just crafting a song sound when you can do that.
Absolutely.
So you answered another question I had without me having to answer it, as far as like where the songs come from, as far as being a personal or just something you witnessed or were told. So that's good to know. Do I want to ask about that one? I say that because every part of me just wants to go through all 12 tracks of the record. But
that's fine.
Yeah, I don't want to tie you guys up forever, you know. So
we have answers because every song is a special song. It has a story.
Okay, so with that said, then let's do 15 Minutes of Pain.
Yes,
that's a good one. Yeah.
I mean, this 50 Minutes of Pain touches on that famous Andy Warhol statement where he said, everybody gets his 15 minutes of fame. And as an artist, you're like, okay, when is my 15 minutes of fame gonna come? And you see it back in the days, it meant something different than now, where you have the internet, and all of a sudden somebody is pulling something really stupid off, and it gets uploaded to the internet, and hey, here's your 50 minutes of fame. But you know what? In reality, that fame that looks so glorious, it's not what you wish for. You let the genie out of the bottle, and it's 50 minutes of pain. And it's not 50 minutes, it's going to haunt you for a while. So this is what this song is about.
Yeah, and just how everybody so easily can get to that place now with the internet. Everybody is always a star in their own reality, and it's just so insane, really.
I find myself getting so aggravated with that too. It's like I work like sometimes up to 60 hours a week when it's like the busy holiday seasons, and I barely break even, right?
Yeah.
And then you see somebody like, most notably, like the Hawk Tua girl craze.
Yeah,
or like
exactly.
Several others since her that have come, and all of a sudden they have these lavish lives out of nowhere, and they've had to basically do nothing.
Yes,
you know, it's
like something so stupid. Like,
it's just like. Then there's that other part of you that goes, well, why can't something like that happen to me? Just so something might be a little easier in one part of my life.
Yeah.
But then I always find myself going, no. I mean, as much as it sucks, I'd much rather honestly work my butt off and earn what I make than to just kind of be sitting on my couch and then all of a sudden my bank account's loaded because I put up like a 10-second clip of some silly thing.
I mean, and then it's all good always, however, whatever happens. If it happened, you'd be stoked, like, oh, sweet. All right. But, this is basically that song though. That's kind of what it touches on. It's just like, there's every side of the coin. You're going to find a positive and a negative thing about it, and of course everybody wants that, is looking for the way to make their life more comfortable and to be able, everybody wants that one thing that's going to push it over the edge, and then some people that you think, why is it you? Why do you get that? And then you see how their life maybe doesn't go as lovely after that. When you get famous for Hawk Tui, where do you go from there? It's like,
well, apparently for that case, it's a podcast because that's what she's doing now. Wow. It is called, it's called Talk Tua.
Wow.
Talk Tua.
Yeah.
Talk Tua. Good. I mean, she had the right business people with her to turn that into something that, good.
At the end of the day, it's one of those things where like she's building on it, she's making something out of it. And if she could do that, then there is work that goes into it to an extent, obviously. So in that respect, I say congratulations to her. Obviously, I recognize that there's more than just that thing that she's famous for, right? So, there's every side to everything, like you just said. So.
But also, like in that regard, I think from the outside, a successful band, you don't realize how much work goes in day to day. You always think, oh yeah, they had this one hit and now they just write it out. But no Metallica, no Korn, no big band that writes anything out. Every day you wake up and it's a struggle. How are we gonna continue this? What are we gonna do now? How are we gonna make it to the next year, to the next album, to the next song? This never ends. That's definitely what you learn.
Yeah. Especially, you're right, because like bands like Korn, like you just said, or Metallica, like those really big names, they don't sell as many records as they used to. They just don't. And they don't sell as many concert tickets as they used to either. It's just the reality of how things are today. The industry is a lot different now. Not that I'm in it, but I see it from the outside in, right? And obviously doing the podcast, I've had other insight from, people like you, that are doing the band thing and in the industry. So that's actually something I wouldn't mind asking about really quick. From when you guys started being KrashKarma, there's a big change in how things are today versus then, right? Digital media, like something that I miss doing and being able to do more is going into a store, buying that record. And this might sound weird, but I love that fresh smell once you get the cellophane off of the disc. It just smelling that booklet.
Yeah.
You know,
paper. Yes.
I think that's something that, you know, some younger generations don't have any inkling to, because they have their iTunes and their Spotify and you know, Google Play Music or whatever digital outlet you use, right?
It's a different connection to your music, and you used to be so excited to get something in your hands and can't wait to get home to play it in your player or whatever in your car, you know, and it's a different thing.
And with Crash Karma, those videos that you guys put up, like those little clips, like either Ralph or you getting hit by a car or something, and all of a sudden he's got his guitar / bass, or suddenly you're sitting behind your kit. Like, I'm asking about the industry thing, like how things are different from when you were starting this and to now, because you're taking the social media side of it and you're doing it in like these really smart ways with your names on it to get your the name out there of Crash Karma.
That's the whole point. At the end of the still about music, number one. You know?
Yeah. What's it look like from then to now for the industry, for that question?
Like you just said, you know, it was important then to have a song with a good video and you upload on YouTube, and a music video is a lot of work. You have different locations. You have a guy who's filming it. It's a headache. And now, hey, you're gonna have a video with one camera angle, and it needs to be fitting on TikTok for 30 seconds.
Yep.
And once you wrap your head around it, I'm really glad that it's like this now, because I don't have to shoot a music video. Maybe still a music video occasionally here, but hey, it's just going to be a handheld. It doesn't need to be super HD anymore. It doesn't need to be gazillion edits, and I'm sitting there for a week editing the stuff, and my neck hurts. It has to be a good idea. You know, it needs to entertain. And I'm for one always feel, if a band approaches me about music videos, I'd be like, you know what? Shoot a 20-second version of it. See if it works. If it works, then go ahead and do your video. But man, the amount of work we put into videos in our lives, and they got like 200 plays, and then something stupid where we also convey a musical idea has millions of views, and then you think about how much work and time. It's like, that's definitely something is getting it better.
Yeah.
And this way, it is pretty cool, because at the end, our videos that we do on social media are geared to our music. So, you know, like we have all kinds of ideas and silly things that we like to try and incorporate. But at the end of the day, it's always coming back to the music. You know, so we use this as a platform to create awareness. You know, and it's a wonderful thing, and you see it grow. So in this way, the potential that you have now as an artist is a lot greater. You know, like that's a wonderful thing. Is it more convoluted? Is there more stuff out there? Absolutely. You have to dig through a lot in order to find the gems. But the possibility for that is greater than it used to be, which is kind of exciting in some ways.
It's definitely a new time, and you cannot just sitting there and feel like, you know, back when MTV was a thing, one video could break you. Remember when Smells Like Teen Spirit hit MTV and it exploded and changed music forever.
For sure.
That was a different time, and you could definitely earn a lot of money with selling records. Now we don't have this anymore. Now we have streams. We don't make a lot of money, but hey, here we are, Nikki and I, as independent artists, and we're getting paid by Facebook every month for our videos.
Those short little videos that you're talking about. So I have a few that I've done and I put up on my YouTube, and they're stupid. Okay. One of them is me, and I have my long hair down in my eyes, and I have like, I think it's either a bucket hat that I have on, or like I like collecting hats. So I have a lot of different hats. Right. And well, I have Slipknot playing in the background. I put these pots and pans out in front of me, which you don't see, they're out of frame, right? And all I'm doing is every time there's the percussion poof of the song, you hear me hit the pot with my steel, and it was like 15 or 20 seconds of that. So the most views and streams I've gotten for an interview is a band from the UK called Esoterica, and that was probably gotten a little over 300 plays now, right? That video I'm talking about, me hitting the pots and pans, when I posted that up, within the first 2 hours was over 700 views.
That's how it goes.
And there you see.
So what Ralph is saying about like these long music videos having less views than like those short things, and the reason why you guys will do those little clips and stuff, because it still draws attention to the band, or it'll still draw attention to the song in the same exact way. And people have a lot shorter attention span in a lot of different ways today. To sit down and watch like a 4-minute video,
it's not
I mean, why not do the 20-30 second thing, and that does the same thing.
I mean, they will watch the longer video, the percentage.
If they get into it
first,
you know,
the people who like it, but you need to reach the people. How do you create awareness? So it's always a numbers game, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead and segue into the wrapping up process of this. And I want to talk about whatever you guys could talk about with this stuff. What's going to be next in the near future or the more far off future for KrashKarma?
The near future is right now. We've been touring so much since we released our album. I think 15 months we've been on the road. Europe, United States, Europe, United States, back and forth. So right now we decided to create new content and also create awareness, because I can write you the next Falling to Pieces, but if no one knows we exist, no one cares. So right now we try to reach as many people as we can. So that's what our focus is. And we think did a pretty good job. We see our Spotify numbers grow, our social media numbers grow, and we reach new people. So we need to probably reach at least twice as many people before we get back out on the road, I feel. So that's what we're doing with our professional content creators. and
always writing new stuff, you know, so that's the main thing as we start working on new music, instead of just honing in our craft, spending time in the studio, spending time working and creating on reinventing what it is going to be the next album, what is going to be the next songs that we get inspired to do. So the road will come again, but we're not looking for that until mid to later next year. So we'll be definitely in the studio honing in on reaching new people via social media and honing in on new music.
And and meanwhile, of course, just our booker calls us and we are trying to figure out where we're going to be touring. So we hope we go to probably maybe South America next year for the first time. We're going back to Europe.
Cool.
We're going back to Europe. And then, of course, we're going to come back to the United States too. But everything is more like geared towards the fall next year. And until then, you're going to hear a lot from us. And
well, I'm going to be watching all of it and taking it all in and digesting it and just being there in the forefront of it. Because I really like what you guys do. I'm a really big fan of the music, and I think that you're one of the most unique bands out there, not just because you're a duo, but just because of the sound that you have. It isn't like a lot of other bands because you're a duo and because of that bass and guitar combo. To me, and just the sound together you guys create is unique, even though you could compare it to you want to compare it to like maybe In This Moment or like In Flames. I'm sure people have done, there's your own identity.
Cool.
Now these are the fun questions I like to ask people I have on, because you never know the reaction they're going to get. So first of which I stole from my buddy JT. He has a podcast called Beyond the Breakdown with 6 Scars is his. And he started asking bands that he interviews, if you were to describe your band as a beverage or a food or both, what would you pick?
A beverage, a food, or both?
I think a beverage, definitely.
And what beverage would that be?
Probably that's a good question. I like probably Jägermeister.
I'm like a Jaeger bomb.
A Jaeger bomb. Yes, a Jaeger bomb.
Yeah.
It would be a Jaeger bomb.
Add a little caffeine.
Yeah. Really quick.
It's gonna hit you.
I had I back when I used to drink when I was a lot younger, Jägermeister messed me up. I'm a lightweight as it is, and Jägermeister was one of the ones that I tried to stay away from because I knew how it got me. And I would be
smart
even into it. I would be I'd be heaving into a toilet no more than an hour later, just because, you know. And yeah, so
not in that regard. We are like that.
Yeah, not in that regard.
Yeah. So and then another one is what are some hobbies or facts about you two, if you're willing to divulge, that people might not know? They could be funny or whatever.
We both like to surf and skate, and we have a lot of that in common. We're pretty lucky that we enjoy a lot of the same activities like that.
I also like martial arts. I train my I have my wooden dummy in the backyard, and I like to beat that thing up.
So don't mess with you. Don't piss you off.
Hey, dude, I think if you are into martial arts, then it's the same like with metal music. You have your outlet. Nothing can really bother you.
True.
I think people who are always offended very easily and aggressive are people who don't know how to defend themselves. Yeah. And those are the people you don't want to cross.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be in.
They should go watch the Karate Kid, the old ones, and listen to what Mr. Miyagi says about martial arts and what the whole point of it is. Because you're right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. It's about peace. Yeah. It's about peace. It's not about being aggressive or hurting people. So very true.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of it for what I have. This has been really fun. You guys are hilarious, really awesome personalities. You're the same as you are on stage as you are off, even though this is camera to camera, you know. But it's been nothing but a great first impression, I guess you could say, like talking to you like this. Awesome. I can't say thank you enough for coming on. It means a lot to me. I'm really glad that I shouldn't be too jumping the gun on this, but I hope I've been a good host.
Absolutely.
I am no means a professional at this. My wife says I'm awkward because I am. I'm kind of an awkward guy, but I have fun doing this. You know, like I'm not chasing the monetary gain from it. I just want to talk about music.
Awesome. Well, we will also spread the word. We'll put this up, and our listeners will watch and hopefully watch your next stuff too.
Hopefully, we meet you. What city is close to you?
Well, so close cities. There's Eugene. That's like a 30-mile drive for me. Then there's Portland. That's about 50-ish miles. It's a little over an hour drive. I will drive to Washington if you do Washington, like Ridgefield area, something like that, because it's only about an hour drive. And then there's Idaho. Well, I maybe not Idaho. That's about an 8 hour.
Idaho's far. I was like, that's the way to
Are we going to be?
I don't know. I have to look. I'm not
certain parts of California would probably be good too.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna look it up. Look it up really quick.
Yeah.
We will look it up right now because like I said, we're gonna be playing with a band called Die So Fluid.
Yeah, but not KrashKarma. We're filling in. I'm playing drums and he's playing bass for an English band. And, right. You're playing guitar, not bass.
Yes.
Excuse me. Yeah. And
that's still worth coming out to meet you guys for.
It's cool.
Yes,
it's a fun
band. She's a friend of ours. She's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see if we'll be in Portland.
Wait
for it. Portland at the Star Theater.
I know it.
November 10th.
November 10th. That's this year?
Yep, coming up. Couple weeks.
Let's see. What day of the week is that?
That is good question.
Oh, it's a Sunday. I don't work Sundays. I have Saturday, Sunday, Monday off.
There you go. Well, we'll send you the stuff, and if you're interested, let us know. We'll get you on the list and come and say hey.
Yes. Gonna have to butter up the wife and say, I know I've been to like 7 concerts this year, but I really want to go and meet some new friends and check out the band they're playing with.
Bring her
and just make some memories. Please say yes.
Can I go? Can I go?
Please. All right. Well, thank you so much again for coming on, everyone. This is KrashKarma. If you didn't catch it at the beginning, they have the most recent album out is called Falling to Pieces. I highly encourage, and I say just go listen to it. That's not an ask. I'm telling you to because it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you will love it. Yeah, I want you guys to enjoy the rest of your day. Go have some fun. Go surf or skate, whatever the day has in store. And I will keep looking at what you guys are doing, and I'll stay in touch.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Great.
Have a good one.
Awesome meeting you.
You as well. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.